6 issues. 6 lone issues was all the Hulk was given when it all began. But the end, as we've discussed elsewhere, was anything but. Alongside the Avengers, against the Avengers, alongside Namor, against Namor, he went on. He became a backup story in Tales to Astonish. He got his own book back. He was written off. He was changed. Yet no one knew what to do with this new version until someone did. And he changed again. And again. And the book ended. And he changed again. And again. And had his own history thrown into question. And he was exiled to space, and the one-time Avenger returned to avenge his own betrayal. And on it went. To go through all of that, and still remain an icon, a recognized character, to have your name become a universally understood descriptor of appearance or action, to be canceled and returned over and over, to do all of that, to gain all of that. It's something far, far more than being incredible. Such a character could only be immortal. As a special request, this mini-series will skip past decades of Hulk history that we've been covering in Incredible to look at the Al Ewing period of the character. Certainly the most successful use of the character in the past decade, and I would feel even exceeds Planet Hulk / World War Hulk as best of the 21st century, even if that has greater reach into other media. But in this part, we're paving the way for the book, as the Immortal Hulk does not exist in a vacuum. We will skip about hither and yon as we close in. We'll get into past actions and discuss some of the developments of the character, because what matters about this journey aren't the events for their backdrop. They're the context in which the struggle of Bruce Banner takes place, man or monster, or that he is both. We'll set the Wayback Machine to what is really the cleanest starting point for the events leading up to Immortal Hulk, which is Civil War II. Issue number 3. In this event, there are 2 factions because a new Inhuman named Ulysses has the ability to see the future, and there's disagreement on whether you should try to prevent it, or if you shouldn't punish people for things that they haven't actually done yet. Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel is on the first side, while Tony Stark, playing very much against his original Civil War type, is on the other side. Well, Bruce Banner comes up, and hasn't been the Hulk for a year now, but that doesn't stop a huge collection of super beings appearing right on his front lawn, watching and judging him. Because that's exactly what you do with someone you are afraid will turn into a rampaging monster if they're stressed. The thing is, though, all these people were hit with a vision of the Hulk on a serious rampage, and they're split on what to do. So they came to get more evidence. They find out that Bruce has been experimenting on himself, part of his efforts to stop transforming, but no one wants to hear it. S.H.I.E.L.D. immediately places him under arrest because a vision of the future and hacking someone's personal files without a warrant is going to hold up in any court in the Marvel Universe. Bruce is outraged that they are ready to lock him up when he hasn't done anything. So to solve this, Hawkeye shoots him in the head and kills him. This, he says, is what Bruce wanted him to do. Use a special object that would kill him and ensure he couldn't heal from it. Bruce had even once been shot in the head in human form and still survived. There's a video diary about it, and the specs for the special object are on Bruce's computer. But as Tony Stark testified, I didn't see the Hulk. I saw a man being betrayed by his peers. Well, Banner was barely in the ground before Brother Voodoo's brother, who was dead, arranged to be resurrected by the Hand, by promising to show them where to find Banner's body. The Hand uses their magic to return the Hulk to life, only the Avengers Unity team interrupts before they gave him a purpose, so the Hulk is set to kill everything. Even the Human Torch hitting him with everything only leaves him angry and naked. Brother Voodoo, who now goes by Dr. Voodoo because when you earn your PhD in zombie making you want people to know, Well, he has a plan. Together, the team manages to get the Hulk into Dr. Voodoo's circle so that on a spiritual plane or something, Banner could be freed from the magic keeping him animated. With that, he was free to rest in peace. And after being stowed inside Deadpool's body bag that he always carries with him, Banner's remains are left with Captain America to see to. Well, one thing no one knew was that Captain America was secretly working with Hydra, and not long after all the business was finished, Steve Rogers and Hydra took over the country. Resistance against them was located in the Mount, somewhat fitting, as that place was once the home of the Pantheon, and Hulk himself when he was their ally. They were briefly seen during the recent events of the Infinity Gauntlet that we discussed, putting him on the trail of the Abomination right before the snap. Long after the Mount was abandoned by them, it's become of use to the Resistance. Only Steve Rogers has Bruce Banner's body, remember. So Arnim Zola restores him to life, temporarily, and while Banner resents being judged and murdered, he's not siding with Hydra. But the beast inside is. This is not any Hulk we've seen previously. Now, personally, I think this is the part of Bruce Banner that hates. Not resents, not rages, hates. Hates them for always standing in judgment, until it was decided to put him in the ground. When push came to shove, the last resort became the first response. Bruce Banner, never given the benefit of the doubt, dies for resenting people who feared what he could be. And that's what's rising up. The part that says, if that's what they see him as, then that's exactly what he will be. He rampages through the Mount. Even the Thing can't slow him down. The only thing that finally does is his internal ticking clock that runs out. And he drops dead again, left in the destroyed remains of the Mount. Useful for nothing now, except a very large resting place for his very large corpse. Before we go on, we need to address a complication. As I mentioned with the recent Infinity Gauntlet discussion, the Hulk at that time was different. Peter David, writer at the time, took Bill Mantlow's story of Brian Banner abusing young Bruce, the psychological trauma of that and the murder of Bruce's mother being the catalyst for his broken psyche. When David took over, the Savage Hulk had been long gone, first with Bruce Banner's own mind being in control, then with the Hulk a mindless monster, and then being restored to his original gray appearance with the cunning seen during the pre-Savage Hulk days, as some within the last 10 years have stopped ignoring, but began embracing. At one point, Avengers teams are brought together from different time periods, and the Hulk is pissed at Spider-Man, quote, talking to me like I'm an idiot. They were considered the Green Hulk for when he was unintelligent and raging, and the Gray Hulk, now generally referred to by his alias Joe Fixit, when he was weaker but very cunning. David brought back the Green Hulk, but kept the Gray Hulk because, as Doc Samson notes, Bruce Banner already has multiple personalities, so why can't both Hulks coexist? The reason for the Green Hulk's return is that the personas were accepting each other more, moving towards a reconciliation. And with all three moving that way, Doc Samson was able to allow their personalities to merge into a single, healthy and whole being. He had the overall appearance of the Green Hulk's power and strength, but the intelligence and morals of Bruce Banner, hence his more human head, yet with the cunning and ability to play dirty of the Grey Hulk. Things didn't remain that way, though, and if you only know the Professor from the MCU, you'd be forgiven for thinking this Hulk is just Bruce Banner in control, or just the Hulk with genius IQ. But this combined version, whom we will call the Professor for simplicity, is not as stable as he seems. David was giving us a new Hulk, yes, but as with all things, it was only part of an evolution, not a destination. The new Hulk was blind to the warning signs. Eventually, a bad guy named Onslaught happened, and Bruce Banner was ripped from the mind of the Hulk. Thus, after this, the Hulk is now incomplete, the fusion of the green and the gray. When Banner returns, the dynamic is between this different Hulk and the Bruce Banner of old. And then things got screwed up. David was told to take the book in a direction he didn't want to go, and left. After an unremarkable set of fillers by Joe Casey and a tedious reboot with John Byrne, there came Paul Jenkins. Jenkins put things back on track by giving Banner Lou Gehrig's disease, and so a deal was struck with his other personas. Joe Fixit had the night, and the Professor had the day. Sampson says that actually he couldn't integrate the personas, so he created a benevolent persona, convinced that he was Bruce Banner. Outside of the Hulk's book, this was acknowledged in exactly one other place, at least as far as I've been able to tell, and believe me, it wasn't for lack of looking. A Defenders miniseries called The Order. He was summoned out by Doctor Strange's magic. Now, there are two problems that I have with this. One, this is a plot-convenient ability for Strange to suddenly have. And two, the Hulk personas are written so out of character, frankly, I feel everything about it could be ignored. The most damning is the impetus for them to make this switch to the Professor. Joe Fixit goes off to the dungeon where the Defenders have locked away their prisoners to force himself upon them. Look, Joe Fixit is not a rapist. I can say that with total certainty for one simple reason. If the Hulk wanted to force himself on someone, they don't need to be in a cage first. He is the frickin' Hulk. While some might argue it was a result of the influence on them, my point is that if it is so warping these characters, then whatever emerged out of the Hulk at that time, it sure as hell wasn't this new persona, the Professor. Anyway, why is this relevant? Because after Paul Jenkins' run ended, came the Bruce Jones run, and then after that, Peter David was brought back. And what he did was establish that the Hulk has been manipulated by the villain Nightmare for some time now. In essence, the stuff between was a dream, and the Professor is not just another persona, but remains the amalgam of the three personas. There's only one part of this that is contradicted, and we'll get to that a little later. During and after, the Hulk then remained essentially oscillating between the two later Peter David eras. The fused persona of the Professor, or the separation with Banner as distinct and the Hulk as the fusion of the other two. This persona would thus be the one sent to Planet Hulk and to return, the one called Green Scar. So to sum it up, there's the savage, childlike Hulk, there is Joe Fixit, and there is Bruce Banner. When all three are merged, they are the Professor, for simplicity. When Bruce Banner is not part of that mix, then the Hulk is Green Scar. Thus, the Professor and Green Scar cannot coexist with each other or with the other two Hulks, and the Professor can't coexist with any of the others, including Banner. With that, let's head back to the narrative. In the pages of Avengers after the whole Hydra thing had been worked out, the Grandmaster and his one-time friend turned enemy, the Challenger, are playing a high-stakes game and using the Earth as the place where it will play out. The Earth has been moved and most everyone frozen in a stasis of some kind. The Challenger has been operating with one piece less than the Grandmaster. However, at the end of issue 679, within the remains of the mount is a flicker of green light and a single plea. Help me. Issue 680 ends similarly, except this time, within the darkness, there is the reflection of teeth, and a worried narration of being trapped down here with him, and a worry that perhaps he can't die. Likewise, issue 681, one page, addressing the previous returns of the Hulk from the dead to say that when it happened, those others didn't really do anything. They just prodded him along to do what he always did, which was to come back. It's issue 682 where that prodding comes from the Challenger, boasting of rage. Slowly emerging is the resurrected Immortal Hulk. Issue 684 is when the issue is finally broached and is reprinted in the Immortal Hulk collection because it's the most central factor of that series, the truth of the titular adjective. The page is black, recounting the conversation between Banner and Rick Jones when it all began, and finishing with a door-shaped green light. There's only one subtle difference between this and the original retelling. that when brought back, Bruce Banner appeared to be dead before he began screaming. It also alludes to another time when the Hulk seemed to be dead, in an Al Ewing book, actually, the miniseries Ultron Forever. Avengers from throughout history are brought to the future to oppose Ultron, and the Hulk that arrives is the one from after the end of the series, before the Avengers are even formed. In the battle against Ultron's forces, the Hulk is decapitated. Except, not long after that, the Hulk's body then grows Banner's head on it. To refresh your memory, in the beginning, the Hulk was no hero. He was a monster committed to the destruction of the world, and while not demonstrating brilliance, he was not dumb. It was either Banner saving the day, or the Hulk doing so only as a byproduct of his own agenda. The Hulk was briefly under Rick Jones's control after a trip through cosmic rays, but after that Rick used a device to cure Banner of being the Hulk. From that point on, the malevolent Hulk was never seen again. Instead, Banner transformed himself into the Hulk, keeping his own mind, except in this huge body he acted differently, like all the secret wishes he could push back against the bullies had made him into the ultimate bully. The tough guy of Banner appeared to eventually split off and become the Joe Fixit persona, separate from Banner's. It's one aspect of the complication, and another was the change from a day-night cycle to requiring gamma rays, to eventually being triggered by anger. The Bruce Banner head in Ultron Forever explains that the Hulk is mutating frequently, as if trying to settle on what it should be, to explain some of the bizarre things that happened during this period before things settled into place. But Avengers 684 lists this death, and other times when Banner or the Hulk appeared to be dead, but wasn't. The Tales to Astonish days, the Savage Hulk days, the Grey Hulk days, the time after Onslaught, the time he was shot in the back of the head. Every time he looked dead, but apparently wasn't. But then in Civil War II, he looked dead because he was dead. The Hand resurrected him as a zombie, and after being freed from their control, died. Arnim Zola resurrected him, and a vicious wrecking machine Hulk was unleashed until it wore out and he died. Raising the question, all those times the Hulk seemed to die but hadn't, maybe in reality, it seemed like he hadn't actually died, but had. So the same way it's implied that the Hand and Zola just prodded the Hulk into returning to life, the Challenger did so. We'd already seen he had the power to restore the dead members of the Black Order, so it's no surprise. The Hulk then spends the rest of the issue silently kicking the stuffing out of any Avenger that crosses his path. In 685, we see that the Avengers fundamentally misunderstand what they're dealing with. They thought this was the same mindless force of nature that last emerged from the dead, that one that destroyed the Mount. But the Hulk shuts down Red Hulk's gamma to turn him back to normal, and when Vision tries to knock him out by reaching into his head and turning solid, Hulk anticipates the move and kills Vision just as he was turning solid. And afterwards, he derisively speaks of being called mindless. When Wonder Man goes to try to stop him by reasoning with him, as part of a newfound pacifism that says the Avengers should be capable of more, his attempt to reach Bruce Banner fails. The Hulk talks to him, mocks him, insults him. Something Joe Fixit might say. Except for these actions. They're not Joe. Joe will fight dirty, but he's not going to try to kill Wonder Man for no reason at all. But this Hulk will. This Hulk wants to see the Challenger win, because that will bring about the end of the world. Kill all the puny humans, because this, God help us all, is the original Hulk, the darkest incarnation of them all, with no trace of heroism whatsoever, with no origination from the Bruce Banner we know with his psyche. That one is back. This leads back to that one thing from Paul Jenkins' run, the fly in the ointment. Among the personas in Bruce Banner's mind, there was a snake, a devil, one malevolent, and would be disastrous if allowed out. The others are forced to band together against it, destroy it. This one, this devil, this we're now learning is that original Hulk. the part that wanted to declare war on the world. We'll save further discussions of the fight against the Devil Hulk for when it's addressed in the series. For right now, we have to wonder, why is he back? The answer is because Banner doesn't want to be here. And Joe is an outgrowth of Banner. And the Savage Hulk is an outgrowth of Joe. And the Professor and Greenscar. All of them daisy-chained back to Banner, except for one. The original. The one Banner lacks the will to hold back. However, Wonder Man succeeds in reaching Banner now by pointing out what the Challenger had stolen from him. His death. He'd finally found peace and the Challenger took that away. So the same way all those years ago that Banner had just enough influence to compel this Hulk to save a bus in danger, he compels this Hulk to destroy the Challenger's prize before turning back to himself. Except later, we get a sense that this Hulk resents the Challenger's resurrection of him as well. After that, well, things are resolved and Bruce Banner remains among the living, with the scariest Hulk of all running the show. With that, let's begin with the Immortal Hulk #1 next time.